Okay, so number two, we're trying to graph this exponential function that's got all these transformations done to it. And we're told the parent function right here is 3 to the x. So we're going to start with that for a table. So parent is y equals 3 to the x. And when we make a table for a parent exponential, we're always going to just choose the same values to start with. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so 3 to the -2, if I were to plug that in, that's 3 to the -2. That's really 1 over 3 squared. So that's going to be 1/9. And if I did 3 to the -1, well, that's 1 over 3 to the first, which is 1/3. And then 3 to the 0 is 1, because anything to the 0, almost anything to the 0 is 1. Then it's 3 to the first. Oop, 3 to the first is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So there's my first chart. Then to get to the second chart, we've got a -2 in front. That really means a vertical reflection that flips the graph over, and then a vertical stretch by 2. So the x's all stayed the same, and the y's all get doubled because of the stretch by 2, and you change their sign because of the vertical reflection. So it's really like multiplying, it's like multiplying y's by -2, right? So instead of 1/9, now if I multiply that by -2, I've got -2/9. And then instead of 1/3, I've got -2/3. Instead of 1, I've got -2. Instead of 3, I've got -6. Instead of 9, I've got -18. For the third step, well, now I've got this +2 attached to the x and +4 for the whole thing. So that means, remember, the +2 actually means 2 to the left. And then the +4 is going to do 4 up. So what you're going to do to your chart is you're going to subtract 2 from the x's and you're going to add 4 to the y's. So if I subtract 2 from the x's, they all move down 2 units. So -4, -3, -2, -1, and 0. If I add 4 to the y's, let's see, that'll be 3 and 7/9. And then 3 and 1/3. Make that 7/9 a little more obvious. 7/9. 3 and 1/3. -2 plus 2 is, -2 plus 4 is 2. -6 plus 4 is -2. -18 plus 4 is -14. And then before I do the other stuff, let's do the asymptote and domain and range. So for any basic parent exponential like this, the asymptote's always going to be y equals 0. And we did a couple in class. The domain, there's no restrictions on x. You can plug in anything you want. And the range is going to be values that are positive only. Y is 0 and is bigger than 0. So that's always going to be true for these parent exponentials. Remember, they kind of look like this if it's growth. Okay, so then to get to this chart over here, the second chart, we had to take the y's and multiply them by -2, right? The y values times -2. So that only affects the asymptote and the range because those are the y's. But if I take 0 and multiply it by -2, I still get y equals 0 for the asymptote. The domain doesn't change because those are x's. And then the range, I used to have y's that are bigger than 0. Now, if I multiply by -2, then instead of 0 and the positives, I get 0 and the negatives instead because I flipped the graph over. So now I've got y is less than 0. And then for the third thing, I got to move, I got to subtract 2 from the x's and add 4 to the y's. So instead of my asymptote being at y equals 0, it's now y equals 4. And instead of my range being everything below 0, now the range is going to be everything below 4. The domain, if I take all real numbers and I just subtract 2 from them, I'm still going to get all real numbers. Okay, so now let's graph this thing. Let me move that over. Let's see, lots of negatives here. So let's go -1, -2, -3, -4. And let's go by 2's. So 2, 4, -2, -4, -6, -8, -10, -12, -14. We'll go one more. 2, 4, -2, -4, -6, and so on. Okay, so my first point is -4 and then almost 4. Oh, actually, let me do the asymptote first. Y equals 4. Right there. Okay. And then I have -4 and then almost as high as 4. So right there, roughly. And then -3 and a little more than 3. -2 goes with 2. -1 goes with -2. And 0 goes all the way down here at -14. So you might be able to tell this thing does this. And then it shoots way down here, like that. Okay, so there's the picture, right there. And we already have the asymptote, the domain, and range all given. Okay, the one important thing for figuring out that range using this method, make sure as soon as you see vertical reflection, instead of y being greater than something, it's going to flip over to y is less than something. And that's always going to be, you're going to know that because of that negative sign in front. Okay. All right, I hope that helps a little bit.